Recently on the channel, we have been covering several important figures from Star Wars Legends, and today we are going to continue with this line with the story of Darth Glovic. The ancient Sith and the old Star Wars based orders is a topic that I have been recently highly fascinated by, and will continue our coverage of it today, filling you guys in on all things Old Republic and the ancient mysterious ways and methods of the dark side. In today's installment, we will be discussing the Dark Lord of the Sith, Darth Glovic. Darth Glovic was a Sith Lord and commander in Darth Revan's Sith Empire during the Jedi Civil War. Darth Glovic was a valued member of the Sith Empire during the final years of the Jedi Civil War conflict, and he was responsible for several victories and campaigns against the Galactic Republic itself. Despite his successful military career, he was quite the loner, as his fellow Sith thought of him as a madman. He had an obsession with meditation and sought after visions of the future, being very much dissimilar to other Sith Lords of his era. Darth Glovic believed so vehemently in his own foresight that he bestowed himself the title of Lord of the Mind's Eye. He had a very short temper and would harshly punish anyone who doubts his visions in the slightest, going out of the way to ensure their deaths were slow as well as painful. This was why many other Sith considered him to be insane, and usually didn't have anything to do with him, and avoided him by any means necessary. Despite his brilliance on the battlefield, many believed that Darth Glovic was completely insane. Towards the end of the Great Wars, as the newly turned Jedi Revan began destroying Darth Malak, Darth Glovic had a great epiphany through the Force. One night, Glovic received a strange vision. Within his mind, Glovic viewed a distant planet covered entirely in thick, dark clouds, streaked with bolts of purple lightning. After he woke, Glovic was consumed with the desire to visit and conquer the mysterious world that he had seen within his vision, convinced that the dark side of the Force itself was calling him to discover something there. The Sith Lord decided to seek out the mysterious location. Glovic pinpointed a world somewhere in the Luria system that matched his vision, and left the war behind him, though not before he executed those who challenged his interpretation of the vision that he had seen. He would be in hyperspace for about a year, doing hardly anything but sticking to his meditation regimen. Once they finally exited hyperspace in the Lure system at the planet of Martynas, Glovic began to reach out with the Force to identify what was so significant about this world that he had seen within his dream. Unfortunately, he discovered that it was difficult to use the Force when near the planet. Frustrated that he had to fall back on the aid of technology, he used his ship's systems to scan the world. By doing this carelessly, a nearby Republic strike force picked up on the dying sun's sensors and moved in for a surprise attack on the Sith Lord. Although the Sith Lord and his armada was caught completely off guard, Glovic's forces put up a fierce battle, which took a heavy casualty toll on both sides of the conflict. However, the dying sun, Glovic's ship, would eventually be shot down and crash onto the planet below. With many escape pods jettisoned, Glovic and his many forces survived and decided to set up on Martynas. Stranded and with nowhere else to turn, the surviving crew of the Dying Sun would unite under Glovic's tyrannical rule. Glovic continued to meditate and ponder the planet's significance. It was becoming increasingly more apparent, however, that there was no way off this planet, and he needed a way to extend his ending life. Glovic could not stand the thought of dying before he discovered the true mysteries that were hidden within the planet. Unsurprisingly, rather than use a horrible Sith technique of Sith sorcery, Glovic chose to do this by using an obolite. An obolite was a type of stasis casket that the Sith used to stay alive for thousands of years. By entering into a comatose state, the obolite could keep the person within healthy and vital for almost as long as is necessary, nearly indefinitely. Through the use of this obolite, the Dark Lord placed himself into suspended animation. Initially, Glovic would limit these slumbers to around 100 years, awaking briefly to gauge the progress of his people before returning to his obolite. While in perpetual stasis, his deprived followers began to idolize him as a sleeping god, labeling him the Dying Sun. As the years slowly passed, Glovic's Sith disciples, who named themselves the Children of the Tempest, became increasingly twisted and inbred, and the awakening of Glovic became more and more infrequent. To show their devotion to Glovic, his followers would often sacrifice inhabitants of the planet at the feet of his obolite. After a while, the Dark Lord just stopped awakening, abandoning his people entirely. For the next several thousand years, generation after generation of the twisted disciples of the Sith continued to worship the frozen Sith Lord. But at the same time, more and more wealthy families began to settle on the planet as well. The increase in the planetary activity began to disturb Darth Glovic, but by now he hadn't awoken in so long that he was ultimately unable to. His faithful followers had also tried numerous times to bring him back with little success, as their technology was limited now that they had become more savage. All of their efforts, however, had no success. Darth Glovic would remain in stasis until around the year 132 ABY, during the rule of the Sith Lord Darth Krayt. His agents uncovered rumors of the final destination of the dying sun Sith. Krayt, the new Sith Lord, hoping to find Sith artifacts, including holocrons from the time of Revan, decided to dispatch one of his followers to the planet to investigate, the same planet where Darth Glovic lay in wait. The Sith Lord sent was named Darth Vuric, using information from his master, discovered the Sith settlement on the world, and encountered the inbred survivors of the dying sun. Vuric attempted to locate Glovic's sleeping form, but the cultists desperately fought and sacrificed themselves to keep their sleeping god safe from the Sith, fearing what the new era of Sith had in store for their god. Despite killing several of the Sith protecting Glovic's body, Vuric was prevented from his ultimate goal due to the interference of the fugitive Jedi who were hiding on the planet as well, fearing what this Dark Lord may unlock. In the ensuing clash, Vuric wounded several of the Jedi and killed one of them, but he was ultimately forced to retreat. During the ensuing battle, the Sith settlers acted quickly and moved Glovic's sleeping chamber to a new hideout. Vuric was ultimately ashamed of his defeat and decided not to immediately report back to Darth Krayt, with the hopes that he could use bounty hunters and this would allow him to eliminate the Jedi and finally locate the body of Darth Glovic. In the end though, he was ultimately unsuccessful, and the body of Darth Glovic was still hidden away, unable to wake himself from never-ending stasis. And to this day, in Star Wars Legends, the story of Darth Glovic continues on. He is still out there waiting, his Sith followers protecting his body. Darth Glovic is the longest surviving Sith Lord, stemming from the era of Darth Revan, and being one of Revan's prime lieutenants during his era as a Sith. He also was admittedly completely insane, with the planet that he was ultimately driven to bearing no fruit for the Sith, nothing but destruction, and the end of his journey. What's interesting about the character of Darth Glovic, despite surviving for so long, he ultimately had little to no influence on the galaxy around him, which was the ultimate goal of the Sith. Not to mention, at no point during Star Wars Legends is the planet ever deemed that special, as Darth Glovic was led there simply due to his insanity. And fittingly, his insanity ultimately became his cage. Make no mistake though, Darth Glovic was exceptionally dangerous and powerful, as he was considered the greatest military mind of his time, winning countless battles for the Sith Empire under Revan. However, again, his insanity simply got in the way and stopped him from achieving his true potential. Darth Glovic could have been one of the most influential Sith Lords of all time, but instead, he's simply a madman placed in a cage of his own design, waiting one day for some Sith to free him from his prison and allow him to finally wake from his seemingly endless slumber. Darth Glovic stands as a pinnacle of the Sith among those that have ultimately fallen to their ambition, grown too far and too strong with hubris that he ultimately failed to achieve anything significant, creating an army of inbred cultists just as insane as the Sith Lord himself. But anyway, my friends, what are your thoughts on the story of Darth Glovic? Had you heard of his story before this video? And if Legends continuity had been allowed to continue, do you think that the story of Darth Glovic would have ultimately emerged yet again, and he would have been freed from his prison? Unfortunately, because Disney got rid of Star Wars Legends, the end of the story of Darth Glovic will ultimately never come to fruition, and we will likely never see Darth Glovic ever again. Anyway, my friends, what are your thoughts on his story and this cautionary tale of this ancient Sith? Although he survived, serving little to no influence on the galaxy at large. Thank you guys as always so much for watching. May the Force be with you, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.